Good morning to all and welcome to the session, the Hindu Editorial Analysis for Proficiency in English. Today's editorial is all about the functions of a governor and some governors, how they are functioning, how they are performing, whether acceptable or not acceptable. That's all about today's editorial. But we'll start the session with the front page headlines and see what is there to learn. Here we have India bloc to hold rally against Kejriwal's arrest. India block, the name of the group, and to hold. What is the verb here? Hold. Hold, held, held. To hold is a basic form with to or infinitive with to. A rally, a lot of people or a group of people hit the streets and use placards or slogans. They try to raise voice against something. Then we use the word rally. We can also here think of words like protest, placards, slogans. All these are related words. And the next news item here we have Pakistan mulls restarting trade links with India. MULLS, mull singular. Here the sentence is in present tense and the subject is third person singular. We should add S or ES to the verb. Based on that, mull becomes mulls. Means consider, contemplate, consider. Pakistan considers restarting trade links with India. Next, we have the news item Assam police detain. Detain means to hold in custody. Detention is a noun form, detain is a verb form. It is a regular verb. Detain, detained, detained. Assam police detain IIT Guwahati student for pledge to join IS. Pledge. Pledge means to take an oath in support of someone or something. Then, not an important news item, Kangana, Maneka, Arun Govil in BJP, fifth list for Lok Sabha elections, Varun dropped. It is official, Statio Shiv Shakti, approved as name of Chandrayaan 3 landing site. There's one word here, Statio. Statio is a Latin term, it means location. Going to editorial page, today's editorial, the one I'm going to touch, questionable conduct. Conduct can be a noun, can be a verb. As a noun, conduct. As a verb, conduct. And conduct can also be an adjective. Here it is a noun, it talks about the governor's behavior, questionable. And unbreakable. The ties between India and Bhutan have been going on for quite some time smoothly. Based on that, the editorial says unbreakable. Then we have two main articles. Main editorial is about TB control in India calls for person-centered solutions. Here there's one phrasal verb call for. Call for means demand. Situation calls for something means what demands something. And also person-centered. When it comes to descriptive English, you have to remember certain important expressions. Student-centric and customer-centric, person-centered. Imagine they ask you to write a letter about to the bank manager. Then you can use an expression like customer-centric. That will fetch marks. Person-centered solutions and actionable ideas for TB control. All about TB. Now let us go to today's vocabulary based on the editorial. Not too many words, and many words are quite familiar. The very first word, conduct, not conduct. Imagine it is a verb, then we say conduct. They have conducted the function very well. But here, his conduct is questionable. The manner in which a person behaves, especially in a particular place or situation, the way one behaves is called conduct. And when you leave the college, you get TCCC. What do the letters CC stand for? Conduct certificate. Unwarranted, you can also think of the expression unwanted. Unwarranted part of speech adjective, not justified or authorized. You can also say unwanted, unwarranted action, something that cannot be justified because it is not required. Strident, an important word, presenting a point of view, especially a controversial one, in an excessively forceful way. Strident means something very forceful, expressing your views in a forceful manner about a controversial issue. Part of speech adjective. Strident criticism used in the editorial. Conviction, we have got so many times and all the related words. Imagine someone commits crime. We call that person guilty and the person is convicted. The noun form is conviction. A formal declaration by the verdict of a jury or the decision of a judge in a court of law that someone is guilty of criminal offense. The word guilty goes with everyday English to feel bad about something, but here it is a legal term. It means it goes with committed crime. Then the person is obviously convicted. Untenable, we have got a few times, but you have to remember. Part of speech adjective, untenable project, untenable stand, untenable views means what? Especially of a position or view not able to be maintained or sustained or defended against attack or objection. Imagine you take a particular stand and you cannot defend your stand, then untenable stand cannot be justified, cannot be defended when attacked. Deliberate, we have got many a time, it has two different meanings. As an adjective, deliberate action means what? Done consciously, intentionally, openly. Deliberately has done something, intentionally, openly. But as a noun, deliberations means careful consideration of something, discussion of something. Propensity also we have got many a time, an inclination or natural tendency to behave in a particular way. Some people in a particular situation behave in a particular way. That is known as propensity to do something. It is like intrinsic or reflexive, inborn, all these words you can think of. And disconcerting, not an idiom, it is an adjective, causing one to feel unsettled. Imagine someone does not get a positive result, then the person feels disconcerting, means feels unsettled. The last two words, remedial. Remedy means a solution. I'm sure you all know. Remedial measures, a typical combination, part of speech adjective, obviously, giving or intended as a remedy or cure. Remedy means solution. Averse takes a preposition to, and it is not a noun, it is also an adjective. Having a strong dislike of or opposition to something. Averse to something means what? Good Pandu, disconcerting, ruffled, perturbing, disturbed, unsettled, wonderful. Naidu Paidi also has written a few words. I appreciate all those who have been contributing. Averse to something or averse to someone you dislike a lot. Let us ask the question, what is this editorial about? Panacea means a solution for all the problems. Who is this Sripati? Why that word in this context? You mean to say remedy? Based on the word remedy, you must have come up with panacea. That's a very good word. All of you have a look at the comment box. Tirupati Rao, panacea means the solution for all problems. That is not practically possible. This editorial is about the concerning conduct. Conduct. You got to be careful. But concerning, there is a common error. A lot of people, when they go to a particular office, they tend to say, I would like to meet the concerned person. Answer my question. Is the sentence right or wrong? Is it correct or incorrect? I would like to meet the concerned person. This is wrong. Concerned person means he has concern for you. You are a stranger. Why will he have concern for you? He doesn't know you. Then what are we supposed to say? I would like to meet this is wrong. You have to change the position. I would like to meet the person concerned. Person concerned means person related to that particular work or to that particular department. Person concerned. This editorial is about the concerning conduct of certain governors in India, specifically highlighting the case of Tamil Nadu Governor R.N. Ravi. He has been in the limelight for all wrong reasons in the off late, based on the editorial, not my personal opinion. The tone of the editorial, obviously, you're criticizing the role of governors and some governors especially. It has to be critical because it goes with the constitutional powers, constitutional framework being violated, concerned. Two important words, critical and concerned. How does it start? Questionable conduct, questionable behavior, questionable statement, questionable conduct means what? Something not acceptable, we have to question. On governor's actions, there's one important thing you have to recollect from the exam's point of view. What is that? Whenever a plural noun ends in the letter S, we have to use the apostrophe after the letter S, not before. Usually we use the apostrophe before the letter S, but if the plural noun, imagine boys, is a plural noun, and hostel. Hostel belongs to all the boys. Because the noun is a plural noun, because it ends in the letter S, we have to use the apostrophe after the letter S, not before. This is something very important. What is the main idea? Centers should be worried by governors' reluctance to follow the constitution. Some governors, centers should be worried about what? We should worry about something, something should be. But here we use should be worried about something. Means what? Should has two functions. One, it is used to advise or suggest someone. In this context, it is like advise. And the second meaning, it is used to express a possibility, but the chances are less. Worried by or about governors' reluctance, unwillingness to follow the constitution. The governors are appointed by the center. They try to be in line with the center's ideology. That is understood. It goes without saying, quite obvious. But it should not be at the cost of not following the constitution. That is not acceptable based on the editorial. Underlined. The conduct of the Tamil Nadu governor, R.N. Ravi, has been constitutionally questionable. Someone's behavior is questionable means not acceptable. Has been an important expression. A lot of students think whenever they come across the word been, it is passive voice. Need not be. Here it is in active voice, present perfect. I would like to give an example. He has been a student for 2 years. He has been a student of this institute for 2 years, this college rather. Here it is in present perfect. What is the sentence pattern that goes with present perfect? Subject, have or has, plus verb, past participle form. Here, what is the verb? The primary auxiliary be. Be, to be is a basic form or infinitive with to. Am, is are present forms. Was, were past forms. And been is a past participle form. So it is in active voice, not in passive voice. The conduct of the Tamil Nadu governor, R.N. Ravi, has been constitutionally questionable for quite some time. I use this quite often. For quite some time is a standard expression. For quite some time now, from past to present, in the recent past. In the latest instance, in the latest incident, or in the latest example, again you have to recollect late. When it comes to comparative form, it could be later. And what is a superlative form? Latest. And it could also be latter and last. You have to be very careful with these two. Under pressure, if at all they give a question, not easy to handle under pressure. I would like to remind you guys. Latest, latest instance. His refusal to allow the reinduction of Cape Ponmudi into the Tamil Nadu cabinet has been exposed as unwarranted. It talks about Tamil Nadu Governor R.N. Ravi's conduct in the recent past. What is it? In the latest instance, his refusal to allow the reinduction. Induction, I think we got last week also. When you get a job, the first day in the organization, someone receives you, introduces you to other members or your colleagues, and talks about your responsibilities. That is known as induction. Here, a reinduction of K. Ponmudi into the Tamil Nadu cabinet has been exposed. Here it is in passive voice. Something has exposed something else, and something else has been exposed. Present perfect passive voice. Exposed as what? Unwarranted. Something cannot be justified, unwanted. Following some strident criticism. Strident means quite loud, offensive, and not very strict, you can say. Following some strident criticism from the Supreme Court. Supreme Court has criticized severely his action of refusing the reinduction of Ponmudi. Based on that, following some strident criticism from the Supreme Court, Mr. Ravi administered the oath of office and secrecy to Mr. Ponmudi, whose conviction in a corruption case, convicted means what? Punished, sentenced, whose conviction in a corruption case was recently stayed by the court, resulting in his eligibility to be a member of the Legislative Assembly being restored. To provide the backdrop, this particular minister of Tamil Nadu government, Ponmudi, he was accused of corruption charges. There were allegations. The case went to the trial court. He was convicted, but subsequent to that, the conviction was stayed. The very fact that the conviction was stayed restored his eligibility to enter the assembly, to get reinducted. That's what the sentence says. And because he got the eligibility to enter or to be a member of the legislative assembly, the governor supposed to administer the oath of office and secrecy, but the governor R.N. Ravi refused. And based on his refusal, Supreme Court went in for strident criticism. Following that strident criticism, he administered the oath of office and secrecy, and Mr. Ponmudi could again he became a member of the Legislative Assembly. This is a backdrop information. Mr. Ravi had taken the legally untenable stand. What was the stand taken by Mr. Ravi? Had taken, past perfect, Mr. Ravi had taken the legally untenable stand. Legally cannot be justified, legally not acceptable stand, that it would be against, what was his stand? It would be against constitutional morality to reinduct Mr. Ponmudi based on the stay of the conviction. His argument, his stand was because he was convicted and because he got the stay, it doesn't mean that he is free of guilt. It is something like holding it temporarily. And based on that, we cannot reinduct Mr. Ponmudi. That was his stand. Mr. Ravi had taken the legal, and this is not legally acceptable, legally untenable stand that it would be against constitutional morality to reinduct Mr. Ponmudi based on the stay of conviction. And in his interpretation, here one governor based on that apostrophe before the letter S. In the governor's interpretation, the order of the two-judge bench staying the conviction recorded by the Madras High Court was only by way of interim relief, temporary relief, and that it meant that the conviction was existent but made non-operative and did not amount to its being set aside. This is what I said. His interpretation, the court has stayed the corruption charges conviction, and Mr. Ravi, governor, says his interpretation that the conviction was existent but made non-operative. It was still there in his opinion and did not amount to its being set aside. It doesn't mean that conviction was kept aside. It was kept in hold and it is still existent. Because he felt it is still existent, he refused to reinduct Mr. Ponmudi. This is his interpretation. The interpretation was quite questionable. This interpretation quite questionable. Why? As the legal consequences that flow from a criminal conviction in a corruption case, loss of eligibility for being a legislator, and therefore for being a minister, stand suspended as soon as a conviction is stayed. Legally untenable, the editorial has used. This explains that particular statement. Why is the governor's stand legally untenable? Legally speaking, once the minister or the MLA is accused and goes to the trial court, convicted. But subsequent to that, he gets the stay. The very fact that he got the stay legally means he is eligible to re enter the assembly. Loss of eligibility the moment he is convicted, obviously, for being a minister. And the moment he is convicted, he loses eligibility. But at the same time, stand that those two things stand suspended. They are no longer valid. As soon as the conviction is stayed, the moment the conviction is stayed, he loses that and he becomes eligible. Parliament and the state legislatures restore the membership. This goes with the parliament as well. Parliament and the state legislatures restore the membership of those convicted as soon as the conviction is stayed. This is legally tenable, even if their seats had been declared vacant. But the moment the judgment is stayed, they are re-inducted. The governor's confusion of morality and principles of good governance with legality seemed deliberate. There are two issues over here. One is morality. The governor talks about constitutional morality. The other one, legality. We should go with legality. Legally speaking, the moment the conviction is stayed, he is eligible. As Mr. Ravi is a propensity, tendency to behave in a particular way, to find new ways to get under the skin of the DMK regime, to get under the skin of an important expression, I should have brought it in yellow. It means to corner someone, to be after someone, to pester someone, to trouble someone, to get under the skin of the DMK regime. It also means to play in a way, in a particular way. Regime we have got so many times. The government in power becomes more apparent. Apparent means what? Obvious. Two things stand out: his reluctance to accept the limitations of his office. Governors have certain limitations. They are the representatives of the center. At the same time, they're titular heads. Titular heads means namesake. Who has the power? The chief minister has the power. If you take the center, the president is a titular head, and the prime minister has all the powers, and the powers are limited. Limitations are there. His reluctance to accept this fact, the limitations of his office, and the union government's failure to act on increasing instances of its governors being pulled up by the court. Pull up in this context means question someone. The court has been questioning the governors appointed by the center, union government, and these two things stand out quite obviously. One goes with a particular governor, the second dimension goes with generally what is going on. Governors are being questioned by the court. On an earlier occasion, to justify this part, on an earlier occasion, the court had noted, past perfect, that he had disposed of bills pending with him only after his prolonged inaction. I did an editorial on that, was questioned by the court. In the latest instance, he gave enough cause for the court to ask, he gave enough reason, you can also say, for the court to ask if the governor does not follow the constitution, what does a state do except come to a constitutional court? Imagine the governor does not follow the constitution, then the state government elected by the public, what is the choice the government, state government has? The state government has to resort to the constitutional court. Things have come to such a pass. This also I should have brought in yellow. Things have come to such a stand, such a pass, means a deadlock, that only a vocal court can discipline them. A vocal court here means a strong court, strident with strident criticism, can discipline them. Given the plurality of litigation concerning the conduct of governors, plurality, plural, from that you get plurality, of litigation concerning the conduct of governors, it is disconcerting, something disturbing or unsettled, that the center does not see any scope for remedial measures. The center, what is disconcerting here? The center does not see any remedial measures, solutions, when it ought to be its duty to replace governors who are pathologically averse to following the constitution. Very strong words used by the editorial. Now the governors, some governors are pathologically, pathology goes with disease. Pathological means something that is not acceptable. Very strong word. The editorial opines some governors are pathologically averse to following the constitution. They don't like to follow the constitution. They dislike to follow the constitution. When the center, though it appoints the governors, whenever the center comes across a governor who pathologically is averse to following the constitution, it is understood, it's expected the center has to replace the governor. But the center is not doing that. It is ought to be its duty, ought to be outdated in Western parts, but we follow in our this part of the world, should be, ought to be its duty, should be its duty to replace, but the center is not doing that. How does the editorial end? The only explanation is that their conduct is driven not by constitutional norms, but by the political assignment given to them by those appointing them. This is the last sentence talks about the reality in the opinion of the editorial. Governors are appointed by the center. They may have certain political objectives. Based on that, the only explanation why are they not replacing? The only explanation is that their conduct is driven not by constitutional norms, not by constitutional standards or values, but by the political assignment given to them, means to meet the political objectives by those appointing them, the center, obviously. That's all about the editorial. Let us go to questions based on this editorial to test your comprehension skill. Read the first one. What is the main concern addressed in the editorial regarding Governor R.N. Ravi's actions in Tamil Nadu? Main concern addressed in the editorial regarding a particular governor. Who is the governor in the limelight for a wrong reason based on the editorial? R.N. Ravi. His reluctance to exercise executive authority, his failure to appoint members to the Tamil Nadu cabinet, his disregard for constitutional norms and limitations of his office. He has limitations, he is not accepting, and he does not regard constitutional norms. These two things. C is the answer. According to the editorial, what was the outcome of the Supreme Court's criticism of Governor R.N. Ravi's actions? R.N. Ravi refused to reinduct. Based on that, Supreme Court has resorted to strident criticism. And what was the outcome of that? What was the outcome of the Supreme Court's strident criticism of the governor's actions? The governor resigned? No. The governor revised his decision regarding K. Ponmudi's reinduction. Obviously, this is the answer. Based on the Supreme Court's strident criticism, he reinducted, he revised his decision. He revised his decision regarding K. Ponmudi's reinduction. What does the editorial suggest about the union government's response to the conduct of governors like R.N. Ravi? What does it suggest about the union government's response? It has taken steps to replace? No, it has not taken. It has defended the actions of governors in line with constitutional principles? Not exactly. It has failed to address concerns raised by the judiciary about the governor's conduct. Hold this one. It has actively supported governors? No. Answer is C. It has failed to address concerns raised by the judiciary about governor's conduct. No, it is not A, it is C. Union government's response. It has failed to address, deal with concerns raised by the judiciary about governor's conduct. According to the editorial, what is the potential motivation behind the behavior of governors who disregard constitutional norms. According to the editorial, what is the potential motivation behind the behavior of governors who disregard constitutional norms? What could be the reason behind? Very good, Tripura Sundari. The legislative, the executive, the judiciary. Alignment with ethical standards expected of their position, strict adherence to legal interpretations provided by the judiciary, fulfillment, completion of political assignments rather than constitutional duties, obviously, mentioned in the editorial. What consequence does the editorial suggest could arise if governors continue to defy, challenge constitutional norms? Impeachment proceedings initiated by the state legislature, increased intervention by the union government in state affairs, loss of trust in integrity of the governor's office, heightened scrutiny and intervention by the judiciary. This is an important question. You have to answer carefully. No, it is not C. It is not the first one. Imagine the governors defy the constitutional norms. Who comes into picture? Whose role becomes vital? Heightened scrutiny and intervention. Then the courts have to intervene. Heightened scrutiny and intervention by the judiciary. Answer is D. That is not an easy question. That's all for today. Today I haven't brought the practice questions, mini mock, and lack of time to be very frank. I'm working on some videos and I'm thinking of a lot of changes to enrich the knowledge of the candidates. For today, that's all for today. Have a nice day. Thank you very much for being with me till the fag end of the session. And I will see you guys this evening. There are two important sessions. One, I have launched one course, foundation course for all competitive exams, English to English. A few classes are over. I'm going to launch, listen, someone wanted to know, I'm going to launch foundation course for all competitive exams, a bilingual batch on April 1st. I haven't launched yet, but you can purchase the course. Already some students have purchased the course, and I'm going to come up with four videos, already demos. First demo is over. I provided the insights, importance of English, hurdles to learn English, and the syllabus and integrated approach. Today it is the second demo about how to learn grammar, how to master grammar. Attend those sessions, whether you purchase or not, you will get benefited. Mark my words. Thank you very much. Wish you all a happy Holi. Today is Holi. In spite of that, you have attended. That's wonderful. Thank you. Thank you very much and wish you all the same. Enjoy the festival of colors.